There is a place, not here or there, but somewhere in between. There is a space in the thin air that really can't be seen. If you listen and observe, you may be surprised. Some may call it Camelot or even paradise. Some may say you cross a bridge, others through a door. But all I know about this place is that I call it Evermore. Evermore. Hello, sweet spirits. Welcome to the show. My name is Suzanne Sorrell, and I'm the host of the Evermore Paranormal Network. On this episode, I will be talking to the owner of Dream Meadows. Please welcome Wendy Shugol to the show.
Hi.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm fine.
So, thank you for coming to the show.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
And tell me a little bit about yourself, your background first.
I'm a retired special educator and a musician and a wood carver and kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. But so now I'm pretty much a free spirit now that I'm not working.
Oh, that's a great title
Yeah.
to have. So, and you were a teacher, right? Did you mention that?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you remember how we met and about how long ago it was?
Oh my gosh, it was a long time ago when you were at the flea market, the big flea market, and we got to talking. And I'm a big collector of stuffed animals, and you had some in your booth, and we got to talking and just kind of hit it off, and it grew from there.
I see you wearing Mickey Mouse watch.
Yes.
I know I sold you a Mickey Mouse watch,
Yes.
but I don't think it's that one.
This is a new one. But yes, that was another thing. You had Disney stuff, and I'm a big Disney fan.
So you bought a property, and when did you buy this Dream Meadows?
I purchased it in 2013. I have to be careful about saying I bought the farm because I purchased the farm.
Yeah, you don't want to say you bought the farm, that's for sure.
I purchased the farm in February of 2013. It was a foreclosed property. It fell into my lap. It was the realization of a childhood dream that I always dreamed of having a farm. I never dreamed that I would end up with what I ended up with, but
tell me about that. Like, what all is this property that you have?
It's 28 acres, 3 houses, an in-ground swimming pool with a hot tub, 7-stall barn with a 4-car attached garage, 5 acres of wooded, 23 open acres, horse fields, hay field, fruit trees. I mean,
wow, it's amazing.
And a natural pond loaded with fish.
Yeah. Did you ever go out fishing?
I haven't had time yet because I'm still between 2 properties.
Oh yeah, you still, okay.
Yeah, that's almost coming to an end.
How did you name the property Dream Meadows? How did that come about?
Because it was a realization of childhood dream. It had been Liberty Meadows before that, and but when I got it, it was like, I'd been talking since I was about 4 years old. I've been talking to family members and things when I have my farm, and everybody would go, yeah, sure. And so when it finally came, to fruition, I named it Dream Meadows.
Tell me about you were talking about how you got the property, the first time you stepped foot on the property, and the feeling that you had there.
My real estate agent told me when she saw it the day before, she said, it's perfect for you, everything's accessible, and you could live in any one of the houses and such. And so we finally went out and saw it, and we turned into the driveway, and I said to her, I'm home. And she said, how do you know? You haven't seen anything yet. I said, I just know I'm home. And I said, I'll go look at all the buildings, but I'm ready to make an offer right now. So we did. It was raining that day. Property hadn't been lived in. At that point, I thought 4 years. It turned out it was over 20 years that anybody had lived there.
Wow.
And so grass was, waist high and higher, and critters had pretty much taken over the property. The groundhogs would challenge you if you drove up the driveway to drive past them. And the snakes, got chased down a stairway once with a snake, but they had pretty much taken over. So I just said, this is it. Where do we go to write the contract? And then it's history.
Yeah, speaking of history, tell me a little bit about the history of the property.
I haven't found out total history yet, but what I know so far is it was a Native American settlement prior to becoming White Oak Plantation, and there was a Native American slaughter on my property, and all around that area. I imagine White Oak Plantation probably took up that area between 28 and 17. But my house, we found out, was the main house. The main house burned to the ground during the Civil War. My house is kind of on a mound. The current house is built on the original foundation. We found that out also. And around that mound is a stone wall, and that stone wall was built by a slave stone slave stone laborer named Hannibal Hailstock. And the Hailstock family was attached to George Washington originally.
Wow.
And he was the offspring of one of the Hailstock brothers. All of the Hailstocks were skilled laborers of some sort, and he was a stonemason. And he left his signature on slate up by my front door, which we think was part of an original staircase. And it says Hannibal Hailstock, 1831, which was the year that he finished that stone wall.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, were there any? Obviously, there were deaths on the property. You think there are some people buried? Anything like that?
I've been told that my property is littered with bodies between the Native Americans, the Union and Confederate soldiers, past owners and family members of the plantation. It's just, they're everywhere.
Wow. So how about the judge? Do you know a little bit of history about the judge?
Yes.
Something about his pictures in the courthouse or something?
Yes. During the first investigation, we heard from when we were downstairs in the recreation room, and the furnace went off.
Right.
Louder than anything anybody had heard. It sounded like it was going to explode. It was the 50-ton unit that was due to be replaced the following Monday. Mm-hmm. And we heard judge, master, resent poverty. And nobody knew what that meant. And so I explained, I said, I think the judge was the owner of the plantation at the end of the Civil War. He resented the slaves because in order to get back into the Union, and the reason for the formation of the Ku Klux Klan was the white Southern farmers lost their land, and it was doled out to their former slaves, and many of them died in poverty. And as soon as I got that explanation out, we heard news, like I hit the nail on the head. Mm-hmm. and the furnace stopped. The rumbling and the footsteps stopped that we had heard coming down the stairs.
Cool. Okay, we're going to take a quick break,
Sure.
And we will be right back to talk about the paranormal activity at Dream Meadows.
Losing weight's a lot harder than gaining it, but with every step, I lower my risk for type 2 diabetes and heart disease, and that makes every step very much worth the effort.
Learn how you can help stop diabetes. Visit checkupamerica.org or call 1-800-DIABETES.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Hi, we're back and we're talking to Wendy Shugol, owner of Haunted Dream Meadows. So we're going to continue. And Wendy, I just wanted to ask you, I know you bought the property, but it was quite a while before you moved in and before you had tenants.
Yeah.
What was the first inclination that something paranormal was happening?
I was pretty sure, because of the history, of the little bit of history that I had at that point, that once we started renovating, and I told my contractor friend that once we started renovating, if there was something here, we were going to get activity. And sure enough, within the first week, we had activity. At that point, I wasn't living there, and we weren't doing any work on the weekends. And it was Easter Sunday, and two friends, one hadn't seen the property at all, the other one had seen it before I went to closing, and wanted to see, the property of what we'd done at that point. So I came out early because at that point the yards were still a mess, and so I thought I'd come out early and do some yard work and start raking up dead branches and things before they got there. And it was raining that day, and I walked in the house and I got down the hallway in the main house, and it appeared that there was a light on downstairs, and I was the last one to leave that house on Friday. This was Sunday. And so the closer I got, and there's a skylight that goes, that's over the stairway there, and I thought, oh, it's just got to be the light coming through the skylight. So the closer I got to that, it was more clear that there was most likely lights on downstairs.
Is this the main house, by the way?
Pardon? This was
Is this
the
in
main house.
Okay.
This was in the main house. And I walked down a couple of stairs, and sure enough, the lights were on downstairs. And I thought, well, that's okay. Maybe there was a friend who had been there delivering a freezer and some equipment for putting up the chain link fence for my dog. And I knew he was coming, and he was coming on Saturday, so I figured, oh, he must have turned the lights on and forgotten, because he had a key to the house. So I asked him the following day, and I said, I turned the lights off, and first of all, I walked down the stairs, and it was clear the lights were on, and I went, I hope you're Casper. And I said, if we can live in peaceful harmony, I will not ask you to leave, but please, I'm trying to keep costs down. Please don't turn the lights on when I'm not here. And turned the lights off. The following day, I talked to the guy that I thought had been in the house, and I said, were you in the house on Saturday? And he goes, no. He said, I was going to bring the freezer in that his parents had given me, and he said, but his dad was with him, and his dad couldn't help him carry the freezer in. So he said, so I never set foot in the house. He says, I'm not trying to rattle your chain, but I didn't come in the house.
Oh, wow.
So, and so I asked my contractor friend. He said, no, he hadn't been there on the weekend. And I knew the electrician had left before. He was gone by noon on Friday. So I knew I had been the last one, and my contractor friend was working in the carriage house, and he said he never set foot in the main house after I left. And so that was my first inclination.
The first,
yeah, yeah.
So it's the light that was left on, and so you're pretty sure that something other than a human turned the light on. Did they listen to your request?
They did, but they just started doing it recently again.
Oh, they started again.
So
well,
they're
probably ticked.
talk with. Every once in a while, I have to have a talk with them. Remember, no lights on when I'm not around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because you were away, I think that might be why they're acting up.
Yeah, yeah.
So also, I know that your dog, I know you were going to say, was that like the next kind of thing? What were other things?
No, the other thing was a couple weeks later, my contractor friend came in on a Saturday to pick up some tools that he needed for a job, an outside job. And so he came in. He says he came in the front door and he shut the front door and he hears, I'm a toy connoisseur, as you know, and I had brought out my 3 Tickle Me Elmos, one from each year that they had had, first 3 years that they'd had them. And I showed them to him when I brought them out and demonstrated them to him, and then I put them in the master bedroom closet. And so he came in on a Saturday and he shut the front door and he hears from down the hall in the master bedroom, "Hey, Elmo, ticklish in here." So he said, called my name, and I wasn't there, but he thought maybe somebody from the ceramic shop had driven me over so my car wouldn't be there. And then he didn't get an answer. So he told me then that, so he went about his business. He told another friend of ours he almost needed a change of clothing, and it made a believer out of him. He had been a big skeptic before then.
Oh, yeah.
And if you mention that to this day, he gets very upset. He was really undone by that.
Because, I mean, it's a big property. Nobody was on the property at the time but him, right?
Right. So when I came out the following Monday, he said, "Did you play a joke on me?" And I said, "No, why?" And he told me what had happened. And I said, "I hesitate to tell you this, but after I showed them to you that day," I said, "I took all the batteries out of them because I didn't know when the next time I would be using it." I said, "Not one of them has a battery in it."
Wow. So did that scare him even more?
Yeah. He said, "Oh,
Yeah.
I wish you hadn't told me that."
Does he come on the property by himself? Well, now there's people
Yeah,
there.
now he does, but there's people there now. But he's a real believer.
Wow. So one of the many buildings you have on the property is a pool house, which is beautiful. It's just great. What kind of activity goes on, or the claims?
Yeah, mostly music from all different eras. The house was built in 1987. It's the most recent building on the property.